Good morning. So you guys must have heard I was speaking. The front row's empty. You guys heard I'm a spitter. No, I'm not. Isn't that funny in church? Everybody's always afraid to sit on the front row. What is that? I don't know what that is. So anyway, I'm glad that you're here today. A couple of different things this morning. If you're here for the first time and you're a guest, you're kind of figuring out, who's this guy? And I am the Next Steps pastor. Jeff Love, our senior pastor, you may have seen him out on the porch. He is out there signing his book that came out this week. So you can get your personal copy and your signed copy. Here, this is signed and ready to go. So we believe in using all the tools available to us, and the written word is one of those. So this is a series that we'll be doing at the end of January. We'll be going through this together. We'll be doing it in life groups. It'll be a really big dynamic series so we can help you discover the masterpiece that God created you to be. It's really going to be I think one of our best series of the year, other than this one. This is the best, by far the best. So a couple of things. Last week we talked about giving, and you guys were amazing. We had the adopt a family thing. You guys wiped that out before we even got through the end of 11 o'clock. Way to go, church. So we got more. So if you missed out, we've got more families to adopt for Christmas. We partner with Interfaith Community Service to take care of families who are in need and need help. So part of what we do in supporting Interfaith Community Service is our annual Christmas offering. That's one of the pieces in the Christmas offering. We directly support financially Interfaith Community Services so that they can care for people right here in our local community. So you'll be hearing more about that. Jeff talked last week about sowing and reaping. He's an old farm boy from Ohio. He likes the Buckeyes. I totally don't get that. I don't know what that Buckeye thing is about. But he talked about if you sow one kernel of corn, you get this much corn as a result. And the dynamic that in every area of our lives, we are sowing and reaping. So you can sow and reap good things, or you can sow and reap things that aren't great. You can sow damage into your life. So we need to think about that. And financially, whatever that may be, sowing, you need to sow to reap. If you missed out on that, also you can go back and check our on-demand archive for last week and get some more idea of how to sow quality things into your life. So this series, from this day forward, we're going to give you in 3 weeks 5 commitments to fail-proof your marriage. That's a pretty big guarantee, isn't it, right? That's a pretty bold statement. Five things to fail-proof a marriage in our world today. Come on, you can't be seriously making that commitment. I will tell you this, if you will do these 5 things, I'll show you some statistics at the end that will blow your mind at how true and effective this is. I know you're already excited. We're going to get there. Hold on. We're going to get there. So take out your phone and silence it, and then text me this answer to this question. What is or was your marriage fairy tale? So you may still have a fairy tale. You may have lived your fairy tale. Maybe your fairy tale didn't pan out. Text those to me and let me know what those are. Keep it brief so I can read those towards the end of the service. You can also Facebook or tweet, and Church Online, you can just put that right into the chat, and the guys will send that over to me, and I'll read those towards the end of the service. So, in marriage, we have these sometimes fairy tales that are misconceptions. So, girls, did you dream about your wedding for years before it happened? Or maybe you're dreaming about your wedding in the future, and you have these great, fantastic, beautiful dreams of the perfect dress. I mean, we have TV shows now about getting the perfect dress. Say yes to the dress. I haven't seen it, but I hear a lot of people are addicted to. I know Jeff is addicted to it. I got to poke fun at him a little bit. So say yes to the dress. Perfect dress, perfect wedding, perfect house with a picket fence. And how many of you ladies named your kids before you even got married? I know some of you did. You're not going to be honest with me. You already had names picked out before you even got married. So, perception. You have misconceptions about what marriage is about and your expectations. Sometimes those expectations are fulfilled, and sometimes they're really not a reality. Guys, what was your misconception? You dreamed of having sex once a day and twice on Sunday. And now you're dreaming of twice a year. Right? Reality. The reality set home between expectations and what really plays out in a marriage. We're going to have a marriage series now, but we're also going to have a series in the winter called God Created, Not X-Rated. You can guess what that's going to be about. What God created marriage and the marriage relationship and intimacy to be really about. Not what everybody else says, but what God created. So misconceptions. The misconception is that somebody, someone, some human is going to fulfill the hole in your life, that thing that you long for. We long for this completeness, this fullness. And we want to fill that gap with another person. But that's a misconception. No one can fill the emptiness that is in your life. No one person, no one on earth other than God, because God created you to be fulfilled in a good and right relationship with Him. So, is a great marriage even possible? Okay, that wasn't very... Is a great marriage possible? Yes. Okay, I think you're gaining in confidence. Hopefully by the end, you're really going to believe that a great marriage is possible. But it is not likely if you do what everybody else does. If we do what everybody else does, we are stacking the odds against us. Over 50% failures in marriages to this date. To fail-proof your marriage, you have to change the way you think about marriage. You have to change the way you're thinking, change your mind, change your paradigm in the way you think marriage works. And we hope to do a little bit of that today. So over 50% of marriages don't make it. So you, as Christians, have better odds of that, right? No, you don't. Same divorce rate as people who call themselves Christians as people who don't. So that's not great. We have a better rule book. I don't want to say that for me. Rewind. We have a guide that can help us be greatly successful. We're going to give you 5 things, and today I'm going to give you one thing that can fail-proof your marriage and stack the odds in your favor, and you'll be astonished when you see the odds that you can change by doing one simple thing. So 50% of marriages don't make it. Couples who live together before marriage, failure rate is 67%. So again, stacking the odds against or for your favor. These are not awesome odds. Where else in life would 50% odds against failure be acceptable for you? Let's say that I have an investment. I want to entice you into an investment. And I'm going to have you put your whole life savings and everything you have into this investment account. And I'm going to tell you that 50% chance you're going to lose all your money. How many are signing up with me? Anyone? Okay, we have a Financial Peace University for those who raised your hand. We're going to help you understand finance and stacking the odds in your favor financially. No, nobody's going to opt in for that. If you knew for sure that there was a 50% chance that your car was going to crash and you would die, your plane's going to crash and you would die, if you went to work today, anybody besides me calling in sick that day? Yeah, that's a sick day. I'm staying at home. I'm not going to take those odds. So the dynamic is there's almost nowhere in life where we accept the kind of odds that we're looking at in a marriage relationship. So what's the average cost of a wedding? Okay, all right. So last service, everybody's got some pretty good numbers. Average cost of a wedding in the United States is $25,000. Woo! A number that shocked me. There was actually two numbers. The other one was $27,000. I went with the lower because it still shocked me. $25,000 that we're investing in a single day versus a lifetime of marriage. Does that seem out of balance to anyone? So what if you took, part of that and invested, a couple $1,000s in premarital counseling, and you took a few more $1,000s and you invested in postmarital counseling? When we do premarital counseling here at Alive for our members, we strongly, to the point of command and making people promise that at some point in your marriage you will get some counseling. When you hit a wall, get some high-quality, good, Christian-based counseling to help you get through. Because where else is this okay to spend for a day versus investing in a lifetime with another human being, especially the person that you love most at that time? It's crazy. It's nuts to me. I know you ladies get that a little bit more, and I'm not saying don't spend this kind of money. I'm just saying balance. Find some balance and invest in your lifetime, in your future, not just a single day. So Psalms 10, 4 through 6, this really frames the idea and the thought of somebody who has misconceptions about marriage. In his pride, the wicked does not seek God. In all his thoughts, there's no room for God. He says to himself, nothing will shake me. I'll always be happy, and I'll never have trouble. Yeah, it's just rainbows and puppies, right? That's our idea of marriage. Is that a reality, married people? No, it's awesome, but there's struggles. There's, we'll cover next week, talking about how to fight fair. Reality sets in that it's not always that. Not every day are those things. So we have to prepare and change the way we think. So I could not do a talk about marriage without sharing a clip from my favorite movie of all times. I think this is the best marriage scene ever in a movie, and I brought it today to share with you. So guys, if you would play that, turn your attention to the screen.
Marriage is what brings us together today. Marriage, that blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream.
Stand your ground, men! Stand your ground!
Then love, true love, will follow you forever. So treasure your love.
Skip to the end.
Have you the wing?
Here comes my whistling.
So The Princess Bride. Has anybody not seen The Princess Bride? Okay, all right. Enlighten yourself. Come on. You got to see this movie. It is the best movie of all time. This is just one of the great and amazing clips from it. But what did they skip? They skipped the vows. He said skip to the end. The vows. So I've got some traditional vows that I want to talk to you about today, because this is where the title for this series comes from. So this is, Cindy was here last night, and I was going through the vows. This would be traditional vows. I might take you, Cindy, to be my wife, to having to hold from this day forward. What does from this day forward mean? It means future. It means from this day forward. This is what used to be. This is what's going to be. From this day forward, I'm thinking forward, I'm looking forward. From this day forward, I'm a changed person. You're a changed person. The dynamic has changed, and we are now one. So this is more than a commitment. This is more than a legal document when we get married. This is a covenant between two people and God. So the dynamic is, I'm saying, from this day forward, strong, firm, I'm committing, from this day forward, things are going to be different. We are going to be different. For better or for worse, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, being faithful to you as long as we both shall live, so help me God. So we're standing up and we're saying, I am absolutely before God committing. I'm stomping my foot. I'm saying from this day forward. And I say to add to that another thing. So on one hand we're saying, so help me God. On the other hand we're saying, so help me God. So, because in reality, we need, this is something you can't do on your own. This is something you can't do solo. We need God's help because we have flaws. We have failures. We are fallen people who need God's help to be successful in life. We were created for the creation, the Creator. So, here's the thing I want you to, the titles for, I'm going to give you the whole series and get you really excited about the next few weeks. Today is Seek God. Really simple. One thing. I'm going to give you one thing towards the end of the talk that is your one thing to do this week that will revolutionize your marriage. And the statistics are shocking at how successful that will take the odds from 50% to a successful number. So, next week, Jeff is going to talk about fighting fair and having fun. Doesn't that that sounds like a fun week? I want to be here for that. Did any of you guys really have some great fights about money this week? Jeff challenged you. He said, hey, you're going to go this week and you're going to fight about money, and then we're going to start a marriage series and help you patch it up, right? It's brilliant, brilliant. And then the following week, we're going to stay pure and never give up. We're going to finish strong. We're going to do what it takes to be successful. So read these with me. Church Online, join in. Seek God, fight fair and have fun, stay pure and never give up. So we're going to give you 5 things in 3 weeks to fail-proof your marriage. So, has anyone ever had a conversation with a coworker or maybe one of your kids that's dating? My daughter, a couple times we've had this conversation. Oh, Dad, he is so sweet and handsome and strong. He treats me so good. I think that he is the one. And I'm like, no. Anyway. No. So you've heard that before, though. Or maybe it's a guy and he's talking to you and, oh, man, she is smoking. Oh, she is so nice and so sweet. And she's just so kind to me, and she does all these sweet things for me. I think that she is the one. So the dynamic of that is once we discover we think we know somebody is the one, then we go into turbo pursuit mode. I will do everything possible to get to be with the one. But the dynamic of that is completely out of balance in the context of what God says and who God is. There is no one human person that fulfills you. You have a hole in your life, in your heart, where you're pursuing something. There's something that we all pursue, and it's God, not a person. God He created that longing inside of you to be fulfilled by Him, and yet we, in our misconception, try to fulfill that with another human being. And what happens? We fail. because no one was meant to be the one. So here's the thing I want you to remember this week. I want this to stick in your head, and this be the paradigm that we're working from this week. Church Online, join in. You guys join in and read this with me. God is your one, and your spouse is your two. So God created you to worship Him. And when we get this out of order, when we begin to worship someone or something or our stuff or our job or whatever it may be that's out of balance, we're setting ourselves up for the train wreck that's coming down the road. We're setting ourselves up for failure anytime we get this out of balance. So Matthew 23, Jesus here really helps frame this. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God." He did not say, love your wife. He did not say, love your spouse, your husband, love your job, love your money. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. When we get that out of balance, when we insert somebody else or something else into that statement, that's when things begin to come apart. So this is the dynamic we're working for. God is our one, and our spouse is our two. So God is your one, and your spouse is your two. And you will never be able to love your spouse the way God intended if you don't love God as your one. You are not capable of loving to the level of fulfillment that God created you to without first seeking God. So, I broke this up. So, for those of you who have are hoping to get married, those of you who are planning to get married, as well as those of you who have been divorced. And specifically, I want to talk to you guys who've been divorced for a minute. I want you to go back, if you can, this week, and go back 3-4 weeks ago. I did a talk on grace. You're living in grace, and you need to understand what that means for you. The past is the past. If you are a Christ follower, you are living in the grace that God has for you. You are living in the grace that Jesus talked about. So an example of that was, so the religious leaders called Jesus because they found a woman in the act of adultery. And they said, the law says that we should stone this woman. And so what Jesus said, well, any of you who have no sin or have not sinned, you throw the first stone. What happens? Slowly, every one of them drops their stone and walks away. And then he said to her, so woman, who condemns you? And she looked around and said, apparently no one. And Jesus said, well, then neither do I. First act of grace. Him giving, in Jesus acting out grace, showing us grace. Then I don't condemn you either. But the next dynamic was this. Then go and sin no more. Learn a better way. Change the way you think about marriage so that if you get married in the future, you're working on a different paradigm that is a successful one, an almost guaranteed success. So here's your phrase if you're hoping to get married. So we're going to read it together so that the folks that are hoping to get married don't feel all alone. Everybody read this together with me. I will seek the one while preparing for my two. So I will seek God while I'm preparing for my two. I'm seeking God, but the other part of that is preparing. What happens to many of us, and this happened to me when I was younger, I wasn't thinking about seeking or preparing. I was living wildly. I was living a wild life, trying to find fulfillment in everything else, partying, whatever that may be. So within that dynamic, had I met my two at that point, and they were living in this paradigm, they may not have seen me as a possible candidate. They may have said, hey, here's my standards, here's what I want, here's my list of things that I want in a spouse, and I wasn't living at that, so I wasn't the viable candidate that they would be considering to be their spouse. So become the kind of person you would like to marry. What does that look like for you? Write it down. If you didn't see this week, on our Facebook page, you guys can go back and check that. There is a couple of posts, the husband list. The husband came back and wrote the wife list, so this is a Christian writer. She made a list of 12 non-negotiables for a husband. Here are the 12 here's the checklist for a husband, and right at the top of it was, he is a practicing believer, meaning he has a daily time with God, he's doing the things that you need to do to have a relationship with God, and God is the center of his life. The guy version is similar. Go check that out, and guys, you tell me if the girls did a better job, and girls, you tell me if the guy did a better job in writing the husband and the wife list. But I was talking to my daughter this week, and we both agreed that they stole this idea from us because we did this when she was 16. So we sat down, and I think we only had 6 on our list. But again, the top of the list was, our phrase was, he loves Jesus more than me. So the dynamic of that is God is their one. And if God is not their one, then we are not going to have the maximum fulfillment that marriage was created for. We're not going to have the maximum positive results in our marriage until he loves Jesus more than me. So the dynamic of that being, I think it's great to create a list. I think, I've heard several people say, my requirements for a guy I'm marrying is, he has a job and he doesn't live with his mom. All right, anybody heard that? He has a job and he doesn't live with his mom. Woo, that's a list. Yeah. So the dynamic of that being, that can play out in a very negative way in your life because you're missing the one and several of the most important things that you should be looking for, and you should be preparing yourself to be this so that when you meet him or her, you're ready for that relationship. So again, if you're hoping to be married, I will seek the one while preparing for my two. Those of you who are married, here's your phrase. I will always seek the one with my two. So the dynamic of that, again, is that we're always seeking God. And in seeking God together, we're staying focused in our direction of loving God first. So again, this becomes that idea of replacing God with a person. And you guys, you've heard the phrase, oh, she completes me, right? He completes me. Well, that's just ludicrous. No one completes you. We're human. We're going to fail. Anyone is going to fail you in some way in life. We as a church will fail you at some point in life. We as church leaders will fail you. You cannot be focused on anyone or anything as the one, or you have things out of order and out of balance. And we're flawed, we're human, we are all sinners, and at some point, we're going to fail you in some way. So this is the idea that really plays out in our marriage a lot. We move from idolizing pre-marriage to demonizing post-marriage. So I might say about a spouse that, gosh, it's so cute, we're going to get married, and she's got all these lists, and she's got all these plans made out every time we go somewhere and doing everything. Everything is so nicely organized. It's so cute. She's got, in her phone, and alarms go off, and then we have to do things. And then it becomes, oh, she's a control freak. She is driving me nuts with these lists and these tasks and these. I'm a free spirit. I don't need that stuff. So we move from idolize to demonize. Or beforehand, oh, he's just like a child at heart. He loves to play video games and hang out with the boys. And then it becomes, oh, that lump will not get off the couch and stop playing video games. Oh, my goodness. So idolize to demonize because we have the expectation that someone is going to be the one. We will never be the one for one another. It is always going to be God. So how do we seek God? How do we seek God first? So I had a lot of ideas as we were putting this together of a list of things I could give you to do this week. If you do these 8 things this week, you can begin to be successful. But if I give you 8 things, you're probably not going to do any of them. These are all great things. Reading God's Word together, worshiping together, creating your own spiritual traditions, doing life together in a life group, raising your kids to be followers of Jesus, discipling another couple together, or serving together. Those are all fantastic things that will really enhance your marriage and your relationship. However, none of those as one thing will lead to the one thing I have for you today to be successful. The one thing I have for you today is a keystone habit. A keystone habit creates forward momentum into other great habits or other bad habits. So here's a keystone habit. Have you guys ever seen the commercial for DirecTV and where they talk about getting rid of cable? You guys have seen that? So the guy's sitting on the couch and something happens to his TV show and he throws his remote and hits his wife, and it says, if you don't get rid of cable, you're going to throw your remote. And if you throw your remote, you're going to hit your wife. And if you hit your wife, she's going to leave you. And then you'll be roaming the streets like a homeless person, and it goes on, and you end up in a ditch. All right? So that would be a negative or bad keystone. So it's a foundational thing that happens to you or you do that shapes everything going forward. Another keystone habit would be a daily time with God. We talk about those in our foundations class. In our foundation class, kind of like this series, we give you 5 habits of highly effective Christians. So one of those habits is a daily time with God. And here's how that plays out in my life. If I get really busy and I miss a few days of my daily time with God, I notice several different things. One, I'm less productive. I get less done when I miss the time. So by not taking and scheduling that time, I get less done in the day. I'm more grumpy. I respond more negatively to those around me. I don't focus on the things throughout the day, and I miss a lot of things during the day that could point back to my daily time with God that I would have. I miss those when I don't have that daily time with God. But when I do, I'm more in the pocket. So that is a keystone habit that really keeps me in the success of daily life. So here's our commitment. This is it. It's huge and it's vast, but it's simple. It's one thing. Pray together every day. And I know right now you ladies are going, oh, yay, Mike's going to make him pray with me. Woo! Yes, yes. And you guys are going, I'm going to kill. Can't believe he said that. Are you kidding me? Oh, I don't have time. I can't do that. That's too hard. Listen, this one thing, if you will do this one thing, try it for 1 week. Pray together every day. It will dramatically change your marriage relationship. Those who do so will tell you that those who pray together stay together. That's not just a catchy saying. It's factually true, and I'll show you some data on that in a little bit. So 2 Chronicles says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear this from heaven, and I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. And I would say you insert marriage. So if your marriage is broken, defective, the wheels are falling off the bus, pray and seek his face together as a couple, and that dynamic will change. Now, I understand that for some of you, you are not married to a Christ follower, and so the responsibility is on you, and I'm not saying to force them to pray with you. That's not what I'm saying here at all. You as a Christ follower are the one that has to pray, and you're of a dynamic in between those who hope to be married and those who are married. You continue to seek God first, and God will continue to grow your relationship. So here's some ideas for you in this praying. I am not replacing that time together. You need a time together when you're in the same place whenever possible. But here are some additions and some ways to mix that up and make it a little bit differently. Different. Pray when you eat. There you go. That's a great time to pray. Pray when you sit down and eat together. That would also make it that you actually have to eat together at some point. So schedule a time to eat together and pray together. So text prayer. So I can say, hey, I'm praying this for you today, and she can respond to me, hey, I'm praying for this for you today. Maybe she's going into a big sales meeting. Maybe you're going into a big sales meeting, and you can text one another back and forth a great encouraging prayer that will help you. Again, you're growing in your relationship. Phone prayers. You can Facebook a prayer. Message your wife, message your husband, and pray for them with Facebook. Be spontaneous, so keep it fresh. However, if you're a routine person, find a routine that works for you. Find a routine, negotiate, find a routine that works for both of you, and then invest that time and make it happen. Pray in the a.m., pray at bedtime. Make a prayer list, a common prayer list. You're going to make a list of 10 things, 20 things, and you're both going to pray for those together. Woo! There you go. Hey, this is serious. You got to pray. So, our virtual pastor question. Let me see what some of you said as far as our prayers. My marriage tale, I always thought I would feel in love with my wife. Right? If you've been married, not every minute of every day do you feel in love with your spouse. There are moments where you say ugly, mean, and nasty things to one another, and you don't feel like you're loving that person at that time. It's not about how you feel. Let's see. My marriage fairy tale is fairly similar to The Princess Bride. Oh, how sweet. House, a white picket fence, stay at home with 6 kids. Oh, 6 kids, there you go. Money for all we need. You need a lot of money for 6 kids. And children, all loving Jesus as we do. There you go. How nice is that? Sweet. So, again, there are misconceptions, and sometimes the fairy tale plays out, and sometimes it does not. But it doesn't change what our paradigm is, and that is God is your one. So, according to a Family Life survey, fewer than 8% of Christian couples pray together regularly. Does that startle any of you? Yeah. I would have thought it was a little higher, but I knew it was in that 10 to 15 percent range. But here's the thing. Here's the one thing that I want you to get today. Of those couples that do, fewer than 1% divorce. So 50% or 1%. What odds are you going to choose? Are you going to allow the odds of the 50% to play out in your life? Life changes, people change. 50% chance you're going to make it. None of us set out in life with the goal to fail at loving our spouse. None of us set out in life as the goal to fail at marriage. But you can definitely, dramatically, substantially change your odds by praying together daily. Matthew 6:33. Again, Jesus saying, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. If we seek God as one, if we seek God first, everything else, the great fulfilling fairy tale marriage that we hope for, can be a reality. But it starts with seek first. So again, I want you guys to read both of these out loud. Again, I don't want anybody left out in this process. God is my one as I prepare for my two. God is my one and my spouse is my two. So that is the dynamic of how you were created, to love your spouse and be in your marriage. So take out your next steps connection card right there on the back. We do a next step every week. And what we try to do is give you something every week that you can walk out and live on Monday morning, Tuesday morning. We want to help you live this out and be successful in your relationship as well as your relationship with God. So they're broken out so that there's one if you're single and there's one if you're married. So one, I will check daily and seek the one with my two. Okay, so if you're married, you check that. And if you're single, I will pray daily and seek the one while preparing for my two. The odds are so dramatically in your favor if you will do these. So I challenge you, try this for a week. Check the box, try this for a week, and see how your relationship begins to change. I promise you, praying together will change your relationship in so many ways. Just drop this into the bucket at the end of the service, and we'll be praying for you this week as you make these commitments. Let's close up in prayer. Lord, thank you for all that you do for us, and thank you that you gave first. You gave us your Son as a sacrifice, even though we didn't deserve it. We don't deserve your grace and what you've done for us. Thank you for all of that you've given us and you allow us to be part of. If you're not a Christ follower today, you can just pray this prayer with me, and begin the process. Just say, Lord Jesus, I choose to follow you. I want you to be the CEO of my life. I ask you to forgive my sins, and I want to turn around and begin living as a Christ follower and follow you. And this week, I want to pray for each and every one who's making this commitment and any other commitments. I thank you, Lord, for them, and give them the strength and courage and endurance to live this out and have great, successful marriages. In your name we pray. Amen. If you made any decisions today, make sure to check those on the card and let us know so we can pray for you in those. And again, drop those into the bucket at the end of service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate.
Hi, this is Justin for Alive Church Online. I just want to thank you for viewing the service with us today. We appreciate it. Just keep in mind, if you have friends or family that you think would enjoy the services as well, tell them about it. Tell them about Church Online. Invite them to join us for one of our services or one of our taped recordings. We're always looking forward to having more people view our services. I just want to remind you that we do have a new online Facebook page for Church Online. So go to Facebook. You're going to search for Church Online at Alive Church. I'll be posting information there throughout the week for resources and other events coming up for here at Alive. Also, we're going to have the online life group starting soon, beginning of the year. So be on the lookout for that information. It's a great way to connect with the people online. We're going to go over the notes and things from the services of the weekend. So it's another great way for you to connect with each other online. Also, please do fill out the underneath the actual chat window of what you're viewing right now. There's a link for the prayer and connection cards. Do please fill those out. Those are a great way for us to know how we can pray for you or a family member or a friend. It also allows us to know what's going on with your life. If there's any way we need to connect with you in that way, it's a fast, easy way for us to actually do that. So do please fill those out. The elders do pray over all those prayer requests every week, and also, as well as I do, we'll definitely be in contact with you if you have any needs. Also, coming soon, we're going to have the online foundations classes. So all the foundations classes that you'll hear throughout the year that Jeff or one of the other pastors talk about, we're going to actually make them available online for the online church community. So do be on the lookout for those. Those classes are going to really help you come to know your purpose in God. Thank you for joining us this week, and I hope you have a great week.
There were seasons in my life where I've been more in the Word perhaps than others, but I can look back on those times and say with certainty that the times when I've spent diligent, regular time in the Word, seeking God, those have been times where I know I've been more connected with God than ever before. YouVersion has sort of met me where I'm at, in a format that I'm comfortable with, that I use on a daily basis. And what that does is that puts God's Word right there next to all of the other things that typically would compete for my attention. It's right there on the phone, on the iPad, on the computer. It's where I am. I think faith is a foundational driving force for who I am. My time in the Word definitely has an effect on my relationship with God, but it also has dramatic effects on my relationships with others, whether it be my wife, my 2 daughters, the people I work with. Having a regular connection with God through the Word is central to maintaining that faith.
YouVersion, it's a great tool. I've got one of these. I've got it on my phone right here. In fact, I have highlighted, seek first the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. The verse that Mike just read for us a couple of minutes ago that was on this screen, but YouVersion is a great opportunity. I was in the dentist office waiting for my son to get his teeth cleaned and opened my YouVersion and started reading. It was great to have that available. Hey, thanks so much for being here this weekend. And earlier I tried to talk Russian, and I said "Das Vidanya," and I found out during the time here that actually means goodbye. Hello. So I hope nobody online in Moscow went away when I said that, but privet is what I should have said for hello, or Zdravstvuitai. Das Vidanya. Have a great week.
At your name, creation sings your story.